This just in, the 90s are back. Come relive the raddest decade with your friends at Local 636, Cozy Shop, and the Foundry Art Center. We're all coming together to bring you a 90s party. On January 21st, we are going to party at the Foundry Art Center from 5 to 11. This party is going to have everything. You're going to want to make sure to dust off those Doc Martens, break out your finest flannel shirt, make sure the batteries are fresh in the Walkman because we're going to have fun. We are turning the bottom floor of the Foundry into half of a skating rink. We'll have skate rental available, or you can lace up your old skates and bring those with you. But we will have skate rental available. All kinds of interactive art. We're going to have a dance floor, a DJ. The party is going to be emceed by none other than Joel Colby of Inimical Drive, St. Charles Band. We're going to have 90s movies playing. We've got a 90s cover band called the Lone Rangers, who they're awesome. We're going to link all this stuff. Food and 90s-themed food and beverages for sale at the event. We're going to have a ton of interactive art like splatter paint your own shirt. May end up with something like this. DIY slap bracelets, DIY friendship bracelets, and a ton more. This is going to be like the 90s threw up at the Foundry Art Center, and we want you there. It's going to be a blast. We've got some sponsors for this event, so thanks to Crown Exteriors, thanks to Trudy Pagano Realtor, Court Schneider Realtor, the Cottleville Caddy Shack, Let's Groove Studio, Rise Realty, Promotions Pronto, Farmers Insurance, The Acres Agency, Community Living, La Belle Vie, Mike Elam, Midwest Bank Center, Court Schneider. If I didn't say him already, you get an extra plug if I didn't, and Jeff Loggy Homes. Thank you guys to our sponsors for bringing this free event. We do want you to go online and register for it. There's a Facebook event. There's also Eventbrite. The tickets are free, but we want you to go ahead and get tickets. Tell us if you're skating, just so we know how many people can be there. We also have a brand new t-shirt design for this event that when you go to the Eventbrite link, you will be able to purchase that. There you go. So little Local 636 t-shirt with a 90s vibe. You'll be able to pre-order that when you get your tickets. We will also have them for sale at the event. January 21st, 5 o'clock at the Foundry Art Center. Can't wait to see you guys there. Hey, welcome in. Today I'm joined by 636's own Joel Colby of Inimical Drive. We're here to talk about the new album, the new show, the new tour, and everything Inimical Drive. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me. This is everything new except for Inimical Drive.
The oldest local band ever. Now, this is take two. We did take one in the original version of the podcast.
You know, I got a theory. Why do it right the first time when you can do it again?
No reason. That was practice.
Yeah.
Practice.
Why,
right.
You know.
All right, pop question for you, because people want to know, people that haven't heard of Inimical Drive.
Yeah.
Describe Inimical Drive's music in 3 words. You know what I want to hear.
Yeah. Heavy, not scary.
Love it. That is my favorite description of any band I've ever heard, and it applies to a lot of bands.
Sure.
But I've never heard anyone else say it.
Yeah.
So tell me what that means. I know what that means, but
yeah. Well, when you tell people, you know, anytime it's brought up, it's like the worst thing in the world. Oh, Joel's in a band. Because you know what's coming.
What kind of music is it?
Yeah, right. Unless you're amongst, you know, like when we talked about it, it was like, oh, wait a minute, you know this and this and this and that. You know, to the average person, they think it's cool to tell somebody that you're doing music or you're in a band. It's not even that, you know, you're a musician or that you're doing music, or you're in a band. So everybody's in a band. So it's like the worst question ever. However, the follow-ups are even worse than that, which is like, oh, what kind of music do you play? And, you know, when you're talking to like an attorney that's, you know, been that your buddy knows that. So, you know, you're like, this is going to be long-winded, man. So typically you would just be like, rock and roll. You know? But for the people that actually go, well, like rock and roll, you know, and then you start to get into it and you realize when you say metal band, people go, oh yeah. And that's like
Metallica?
Yeah, like Metallica or, you know, or they're thinking like Cannibal Corpse.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And so there's so many degrees, right? We were never scary metal. We were never any of that. We just played heavy music.
Yeah.
You know?
Heavy, not scary though. It's just, I don't know. It just rings.
Heavy, not scary wraps it up for a person like that. They go, oh.
Okay.
You know, and they might not actually know what I mean, but they know what I want them to know, which is that, you know, Yeah, it's just, it's loud music. And that's usually followed up with like, oh, you do the screaming thing and
Yeah.
all of that. And they go, yeah, there's some of that, but there's rock and roll in there too.
I think that's so clever. And of course, owning an apparel company, I think that needs to go on your shirts. I just can't believe that's not on the shirt. Inimical Drive, heavy, not scary.
It's something that I think we coined way too late.
Oh, really?
That we went through a million of those conversations before we decided, like, what's the easiest way to say this to get that across,
Yeah.
But I think, and, as you grow a network of people, we know so many people that aren't involved in music that have helped us out along the way in various aspects that that's probably the easiest way for them to describe it to somebody else is like, well, they're like heavy music, but it's not scary.
Yeah. So you mentioned the length of time. So this is the 20th year for Inimical Drive.
20 years, man.
So tell me about that. Tell me about the scene and how you started and how you've, really more importantly, how you've maintained. Because the last 20 years for musicians, it's not been easy, right?
Yeah. No, it's not. No.
So tell me about how you started.
So to the easy way, and then I'll back up and go to that. But the easiest way to say that is ultimately we just didn't change the name.
Okay.
And
that's how you kept going?
Because when other musicians, I have so many musician friends that have been musicians even longer than I have, right? But they've been in 5 or 6 different bands, or they've, and they're still doing music, or maybe they're independent now, or they're a solo artist, or whatever it is. We just kept the same name.
Let's talk about the name. Inimical
Drive. We said it wrong at first too, which tells you that we knew nothing about marketing.
You've got a great clip of you at a festival, which we'll talk about later. Of hey, say our band name.
Yeah,
and it's like 4 or 5 people in a row going Inimical.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but we should have done this here. We should have been the first thing that I said. Angel, can you say this name, or what's the first thing that you think of? You know?
And that is a word, right?
It is a word. Yeah,
and
it means unstable, aggressive, to take the unstable path.
Okay,
there's a lot. If you get the first meaning, it says unstable, aggressive.
I'm sure there's like a Greek.
There's like a whole thing that goes back to inimical warrior and things like that.
So if you want to be a successful band now, you just start and you don't change the name.
Just don't change the name. That's how you do it for 20 years.
Yeah,
like I said. So many people, if technically you say, how long have you been a musician? Well, forever. Way longer than that,
Did you start out singing? Like, did you start out knowing you could sing and like, hey, I want to be in a band because I can sing really well? How did that go down?
So the whole start literally was as garage band as it comes.
Okay.
Loving music.
Sure.
Hanging out, going to shows, then discovering local shows. Was really a big thing that we were like, wait a minute. I didn't even realize prior to going to like the side door.
Oh yeah.
You remember the side door, right? We talked about that. Walking in there and being like, oh, these guys are all from like here.
Yeah.
And this happens and they pack out this place and they get to just go up and do whatever they want. And it was like, what is, And so that's probably the very initial conversations, our original bass player and still bass player, the only bass player we've ever had, Dan.
It's a really weird way to say that.
Yeah. Well, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, yeah, he's the only bass player we've ever had.
Which is funny because that's usually the position that rotates out the most, right?
You would say, right?
Player.
Yeah. We got the best one. We have no reason.
And you held on to him.
Yeah, he's the easiest, and he's also the best looking in the band. So
also
you can't get rid of your best looking member. That's
also not a rock and roll standard, right?
They're definitely not.
Ones, yeah.
No, people throw their bass players away all the time. Dan's a lifer.
Okay.
So.
Can we get Dan on the podcast?
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna be listen when you see Dan, you're gonna be like, why did we choose Joel? So I've known Dan for years prior, and going to shows and going to concerts and whatever. And I think that just kind of started the conversations. It was like, oh man, this and that. And he played a little bit of guitar.
Okay.
And then a good friend of mine, longtime friend Brandon, happens to call one day. I was the only one that had a house at that time, I think. And
like your own house?
My own house.
Okay.
And he was like, I need to store my drum set. I'm moving out, going into an apartment. I was like, I don't even think I knew you played drums. Did I? He was like a DJ at the time or something. I was like, did I? I didn't even know that. Did I? And that's all it took. A drum set showing up at the house.
You got a bass player, a singer?
We had a guitar player. He was playing guitar at the time. And then, it was like, can we make noise with this? Like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and then, it's as garage band. Nobody knew what we were doing. We didn't know how to do anything.
You couldn't sing right off the bat?
I mean, I always kind of knew my dad was a singer, and like I always, I always sang to myself.
Sure. Shower.
But I never actually
car.
thought like, wait a minute, do I sing? I don't think it was ever a moment like that. It was when, we started talking about these things that was like, I don't know, I could probably do that. And then nu metal was a big thing around then.
Sure.
And it was previous to that, but the aggressive music was coming out. Limp Bizkit and Korn and those bands started on the rise, and was like, this is heavy. What is this? Pantera was already
this is heavy and scary.
Massive. Yeah, right? Yeah. And watching like the shift, my brother was always the metalhead and rocker in my family. And I remembered Pantera being like a hair band,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, their first like, 2 or 3 albums, right?
And then all of a sudden, when I'm into like some of the heavier music, this is a totally different thing. I'm like, who does that? Like, what? Some of that stuff was too heavy for me at that time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not scared to admit that.
What? You know? And
that's a scary band. It is
heavy
a heavy and scary band.
Yeah.
And I remember being in like middle school and someone like, I listened to Pantera, and I'm like, I'm staying away from that kid.
Yeah.
And now I love those albums.
A good example was Tool. Tool was like
also a little scary,
edgy and a little scary and like super artistic, but it didn't come across as that heavy to me. Right. So I was into that. I was way into Tool. God, that would have been junior high for me, probably. Show my age a little bit. But then as things got heavy and scary, I don't, somewhere along the line, I realized singing to myself that I could scream.
Okay.
I was like, oh, can everybody do that?
No.
And then you learn that no, everybody cannot do that. And I was like, is that a talent? No, it's not a talent. It's just something that some people can figure out how to do and other people don't have it.
I think it's a talent.
I guess. Yeah.
Maybe that's because I can't do it.
Well, it is. Because you do have to work at it.
Sure.
And you do have to
you've got to take care of your voice.
Able to do it.
Yeah. You've got to practice at it. You've got warm-ups.
Well,
you do vocal warm-ups. No, you do now. You do vocal warm-ups now, right?
Take a shot, drink a beer, scream a bunch.
All
right, we're ready. Let's go. That's how you make yourself sound scary, right? No, but it is. I shouldn't say that at all. There are some people that have it down to a science way more than me. There's a consistent sound and technique to doing it.
I've watched videos, not that I have any aspirations, but I've watched videos on like how to scream and how to growl. And there's different types of screams, different types of growls. I can't do any of them, but it's interesting to the lay person or the person that doesn't listen to heavy music. Yeah, it sounds like noise, right? It sounds like someone's just screaming. Yep. But I'm sure for you too, you can tell the difference between this screamer. Yeah, for sure. Even as I listen to albums, if I know a singer's like cadence, how they say certain words, I can even understand the lyrics. Yeah, for sure. And people are like, how do you understand what's going on?
People are always like, oh, nobody can understand it. I'm like, I hear it clear as day.
Yeah, same.
When you know what it is for whatever reason.
When you've heard them say those words before, know how they speak.
Yeah. So yeah, but with the introduction of all that, that's probably where the heavy, not scary came from too. Because it was like, we were definitely, I don't know that we started that way. There was screaming for sure, and it was kind of like the nu metalish sound or whatever. Then we got faster and heavier as we played more, and a couple member changes and things, and kind of dominated that sound for ourselves. It was fast and it was heavy, and there were things that we were doing that nobody else was doing. They just didn't have a drummer that was playing as fast as us. And the screams, my voice has gotten drastically lower over the years, and as that continued and the more we did, the screams went from like mid-range to now I've got this really throaty thing that I can do as well. So now there's this whole range that I just automatically developed from just doing it, right? And it's so funny to even talk about it because I don't consider it a talent for myself.
It is cool. There are people that wish they could do that.
Sure.
For sure.
For sure. The more conversations I've had for the longest time, I was like, no, don't do it. It's probably terrible. Don't even, why would you want to go down that road? Yeah. But it is. And it's a huge
probably
part
is
of music,
bad for your vocal cords and throat and voice.
Not necessarily if you do it right.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay. And then do you do any kind of like maintenance, like after shows, before shows?
For sure.
Okay.
Now.
Now.
For sure.
Okay.
I didn't for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like I said, garage band, amps, loud as they go, drums, fast as you can, hit as hard as you can, jump around. Don't worry about breathing. Just scream more if you can't hit the note. That was it for forever. That's
well, I think age reveals a lot of things, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Oh,
For
now
sure.
I have to do this.
Yeah. Now it's definitely warm-ups, as much rehearsal, independent rehearsals, and then rehearsals together as we can get. But prior to that, like even day of show, you won't see me anymore in the crowd prior to a show because the talking is what wears me out. So everybody be like, doesn't that blow your voice out? No. If I played a show, drank some beers, left the show, went home, went to bed, no. I would wake up and there's no rasp, there's no weird, because it doesn't, I guess I do it the right way.
Okay.
It doesn't destroy my voice. The doing that and then standing out at a show and talking to everybody over the music, maybe it's the house music, maybe it's another band, I cannot do any of that. So prior to a show, I disappear and then hit my warm-ups before a show. And then after the show, I will, but I'd rather get out of there and go somewhere else so we can talk at a normal level. Because when you're up here the whole time trying to talk over music and all that, I mean, you can go to a bar if you've been bar hopping and you have a couple drinks
the next day
and you're yelling over the music all night and whatever, you're like, oh my God. Or even going to a concert, if you're the guy that's yelling all the words the whole time, that takes it out of you.
I've gone to a lot of concerts where I'm like, voice is shot. I was at a show last night. Oh, you're in a band? Nope. Just singing in the front. Yeah.
Just a fan.
All right, let's talk about 20 years.
Yeah.
You've played here. You've played regionally.
Yep.
What's been the most fun thing? Don't leave out incarceration because I want to talk about that separately. But what's been the most fun thing or the most challenging thing over the 20 years of just trying to withstand and trying to stay together?
The most challenging thing for sure is just the relationship aspect.
Within the band?
Within the band.
Okay.
For sure. That's the toughest thing.
Because the bass player is the best looking and
and that sucks.
It throws off the whole
it throws off the whole dynamic, Nick's got the best hair,
Nick does have good hair.
Nick's got good hair and chest hair, so he can do the deep V thing, he just looks rock and roll, We have a joke that we had the opportunity to play the Viper Room out in California.
Yeah.
That was a highlight for sure. But I forget what the exact argument was, but we're always giving each other shit. Nick's basically my husband, and he said something, and I was like, okay, man, all right, just remember something along the lines of like, remember who's making this happen for you and whatever else. Like, don't make me out cool you or whatever, joking or whatever. And he goes, hey, bud, this is the one place I ain't got to ass. This is the one place I'm out cooling you every time. I was like, you're right, and I hate you for that. He could just walk in and sit down, and everybody's like, who is that? I could sit there and then be like, hey, nudging me, who is that guy? So he was right. He got me on that one.
Are there egos and stuff that get in the way? I know certainly
honestly, man, it has not been egos. It has been, I've had the best group of guys, really. Like, I've had some of the best. And I feel.
Do you want to look in that camera and say, "Tell"?
Some of the best guys. It's never really been ego. It's that for one, figuring it out, navigating music, and trying to continue to do it at any level is always changing. There is no standard. There is no like, oh, you do this and you can make this much money at it and whatever. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And when you try to keep something going, it takes a lot of work for very little reward in the ways that you need it to keep going.
Correct.
All of the reward is in the connection, the opportunities, the network, the meeting of the people, doing this, meeting fans, meeting genuine music fans that legitimately connect to what you're doing. That is 100% of the reward. And until you hit that point where you're like, oh, I do this all the time and it pays my bills, or that, I had a hit song and all of that, it is so difficult to find enough to really keep everybody motivated all the time. And we don't always know what we're doing. For the longest time, we had no clue. You get something exciting and you're like, this is it. This is what we got to do. And then it's 100 miles an hour to run to that next thing. And you realize that like, that wasn't it, or it's just another thing. And, that becomes very frustrating to do anything for 20 years. It's outlived a marriage for me. everybody's relationship. Anybody, the three original members, all different relationships, divorces, and multiple girlfriends.
It's a good advertisement for starting a local band.
Yeah, right? Yeah, let me tell you. Guys, there's one way. No, but it is having a relationship with 5 dudes and their families and their relationships and all of that. So sticking this out has been the one consistent thing for all of us for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to think about, you know?
Yeah, that's a long time.
Longer than I've known my son, and my kids are, young adults.
Yeah.
And it's definitely everybody else. Everybody else had kids after I did. And so it's literally outlived everything in our lives. Most everybody, with the exception of me, I think, lives in different places and all of this.
So what's kept you going? Because, I mean, you have a full-time job outside of the band that does not pay your bills. And I imagine most of the members or all of them have other full-time jobs, right?
Currently. Currently.
You're doing all this stuff. You're busting your ass. Like you said, you're trying to do this thinking this is the answer. This will get us over the hump. This will get us.
Yeah.
What keeps you going? Why keep doing it?
The music. It's, you always think, I think when you're younger, you think, I can't do this when I'm older, or, God, if I'm that old doing this or whatever. And then you hit a point where you're like, I'm too old. I'm too far in to not. Like, what else would we do? We have something. I'm very careful to say it, but some people use the term normies. Normies won't get it. And it's not that's not derogatory.
No.
It's if you're a business owner, you understand, especially if you're a successful business owner, you understand things that people looking at your business or shopping at your business will never see it that way. It's a normal perspective on what you're doing. And once you see the other side of music or art, I think, any art in that way, and you get to do these things that you never would imagine. You look at it when we first started the band, right? You're like, oh, this and oh, that. And you're looking at all of these things like it's impossible. And then you get to do some of that stuff. And then when you really get into like the emotional side of it, I write all of the songs. I write all the lyrics, and that they're all real. I do write about other perspectives, but it's through my lens at all times. And so it's been an IV for me. And
I was going to ask, is that something you feel like you have to do? Like that's your outlet? That's cathartic for you?
100%. People go, you don't journal or you don't, and I do a little bit, not like a daily journal and all that. I'm actually trying to make myself do more of that now because there's so many experiences that as you get older, you forget a lot of this stuff. But for me, that's what it's been. I could timestamp everything. You can pull up our YouTube and go through the video, and I can tell you who I met, how I met the director or the producer, and who was in the band at that time, and what the song was about, and where I was in my life, and was it a great time? Was it a dark time? Was there this and that? And it's all in the lyrics. And if you were to break down, if you're a lyric person and you get into that, it is right there is like an emotional, poetic aspect for me, and just the creative aspect of it. Going into a studio, and we've done it a bunch of different ways, but especially with this most recent record, going in and just saying whatever happens is going to happen because you trust the people that you're working with and you feel like you've got the right group of guys to do it with. That's scary. You're on a time limit and you're on a budget, and we didn't say we have to do that. We just wanted to see what would happen over this amount of time and bring in a producer we had never worked with another producer that we had worked with, but he didn't really know how to, he had never done that, like flying somebody in that, has done all this other stuff that, and it was just like, let's put a bunch of creatives in a room together. And that is the most incredible aspect to me. Like, I wish everybody was forced to be in that situation, but not everybody gets it. Even some of my own bandmates and previous bandmates don't enjoy that part of the process. It's uncomfortable. It's on the spot. It's vulnerable. You have to be, I don't know so much prepared, but you got to be confident in that, you're contributing good ideas, and that, you can't get in your head about it too much, that what you're doing is getting looked at like maybe it's not good or any of that. So all of that really hits you in a way that you can't describe to somebody unless they've been in that situation.
And I think if we interviewed other band members, you're right. They wouldn't have that experience. It takes a person, and I don't even mean a special or anything like that, but it takes a different kind of person, I imagine, to be the front man, the lyric writer, the songwriter, because you are doing that. It's you're putting that out there. When I know it takes, I know it takes a whole bunch of people to make a band and to make an album work, but when you play a show or when you put on that album, most people are focusing in on you, what you're saying, how you're saying it.
Yeah,
most people.
The average listener, if they latch on to the idea of the song, and that's, says a lot about pop songs, right? Mm-hmm. Most people just want to hear something that sticks in their head.
Sweet, sugary.
And that they, it's the one line or the one thing that they latch onto, and then they might dive in and learn all the words and whatever else, but it's really, that was the one thing that grabbed them about it, and it's easy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I listen to a ton of pop music. What people would be like, what? And I do. I like it. I love a good earworm and a simple hook and simple lyrics, even cheesy country.
A nice hook is undeniable.
It is what it is. I'm not ashamed about it. But the simplicity of that is what people latch onto, right? And then, so if they're into the words and that, obviously I write all the lyrics. So, there's a lot of that. There's a band. Do you remember the band Envy on the Coast?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I didn't think Envy on the Coast would come up in a podcast. But I did. But
big fan.
Okay.
And he has a lyric in, and I'm gonna draw a blank on the name of the song because
I don't know him that well to help you out. Yeah.
But says this was never meant to be anything more than a makeshift personal IV.
You mentioned IV earlier, so
I use that because it really is. It's like a life support to how do I get this out? I don't know how to articulate my thoughts a lot of times when I'm thinking it, but through song, I can really wrap up an entire concept that then we go line by line, and there might be like 3 stories within that song that, came together, but line by line, that is that kind of like continual, what he's saying was, this was never meant to be anything more than like it's
for you. Yeah.
And then it took off for them.
We're getting into
now he's got all these eyes and ears on him. Yeah. So my point was that, it's a lot of pressure and it is a weird thing. It does, I guess it takes a certain person. To me, it's just, write down your thoughts.
That's who you are. Yeah.
So,
we're getting into another podcast here, but I have a theory that every band is an emo band.
Okay.
You're not biting for it.
Well,
listen to this is gonna. No one's listening. We're past 6 minutes,
genre,
right?
But yes.
Not by genre. Yeah. But listen to that.
6 minutes. Love it.
Look at the lyrics for "Master of Puppets" by Metallica.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not an emo song. Not by genre.
Okay.
Not by sound of the song.
I'd have to be reading
of what people.
I'd
that's
have to be reading.
That's what I'm saying. So when the Stranger Things episode dropped, of course, Master of Puppets is a great song. I've listened to it forever, but I've never really paid attention to the lyrics until he, what's his name, played it on the roof in Stranger Things, and I'm reading the lyrics and I'm going, this is an emo song.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying. It has to be, right? It doesn't have to be, but if those lyrics are personal and cathartic for someone. Emo is just short for emotional, guys. It's not a bad word. It's not a bad word.
Not a bad word.
Okay.
No. It's really, it was bad for music at the time that it got coined as that.
It's fantastic now, though.
Yeah.
It's all the way back, obviously. Yeah. Hey, Side Door. You mentioned the Side Door. You mentioned the you didn't mention the Galaxy, but I assume that's in there.
Yeah.
High Point, Creepy Crawl. Tell me a good experience. Was there like a life-changing experience? Like one thing you mentioned, seeing bands there and like, if they can do this, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Is there one show at one of those places that it was really impactful?
Yep.
Mississippi Nights, whatever.
Yeah. Lots. But if you had mentioned the Creepy Crawl, the Creepy Crawl for us was a launching pad.
Sure.
It was the spot. It was dirty.
Yeah.
It was loud. It was acceptable
Small.
for kids to pack into this place. And just, it was somehow it was like, I don't want to say it was really well run, but like nothing, like it was just a great spot. It was consistent, right? And I don't know anything about the business side of that place. And I knew the owner, and we're still friends with a lot of the staff that they've all gone on to do other things. But that was a launching pad for us, man, to have this crazy hole in the wall venue where these incredible shows were coming through, and was like, what is this? A local, a St. Louis band that went on to be national, Calico System.
Okay.
They had the opportunity to open for Code 7.
Okay.
And Dredge.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
if you know Dredge.
Yeah.
But Dredge is an all-time favorite of mine, and that's where we discovered Dredge. And
we're getting into like, is that like, would you call that like sludge metal or stoner metal or what? How would you?
I don't know what Dredge calls themselves.
Okay.
You know? They were a one-off. There's never been anything like that.
Yeah.
You know. But it was an odd combination for the show too, like Code 7 and Calico System, and but seeing Dredge and standing right next to the drummer, watching this show happen at the Creepy Crawl, completely packed, way over capacity. It was just mind blowing to us that we were like, we play this stage, and what in the world, man? Like it was, So that's like a standout moment, just because you mentioned the Creepy Crawl, and because that place was so influential for us. You know,
oh my gosh,
it was like the first time we would pack that place, and we couldn't believe they're paying us.
Yeah,
it was like, you know, they're like, oh well, here's what you guys made, and we're like, we just showed up and played,
and
like,
you would have probably done it for free,
about?
right?
You know, oh absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we thought it was cool because they would put the little the box was about this big that they would put in the RFT. In the, the classified ads for what shows were happening.
Our name.
Yeah, like we would see whatever shows happening at Mississippi Nights and then the Creepy Crawl and that. And so, you know, and say Inimical Drive at the Creepy Crawl on Saturday, whatever, you know, and we were like, yeah. And then we got a stack of cash for this too and a bar tab. We're like, what?
That'll hook you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that keeps coming back.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about the Creepy Crawl, right? So let's go to what's probably the opposite of that, which was the Incarceration Fest. And that is Incarceration. So we're talking tattoos. We're talking prison.
Yep. Tattoos, prison,
set this up for me.
Rock and roll.
It's outside of a prison?
It is outside of the Ohio State Reformatory.
The Shawshank prison, right?
The Shawshank Redemption Prison.
Yeah.
Which is no longer operational, but it's set up for tours and things like that.
Okay.
And then the new prison is within vision of that.
Okay.
Which is kind of odd. But they said that actually they get letters from the prisoners thanking them because they can hear the music. So literally Danny Wimmer Festival gets recognition from the prison being like, hey, that's awesome. Thank you guys for doing this, you know? So I thought that was pretty cool. They hear like while we were there, I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy.
So it was a multi-day festival.
Yeah,
who were the headliners there?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's unbelievable. You saw the poster. You came by the house, and to have that poster, you know, I'm a big fan, as are you, of memorabilia and collecting these things. And I really try to hang on to that stuff because I forget, man. It's been so long. We've done a lot of things, not as much as some, but we've done a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That those little moments like that where you go, oh my God. So to have the big moments like that where I was like, man, we got added at the last minute.
Okay.
And typically, so submissions and those tours are being built right now. So submissions for bands that aren't just getting the big paychecks for those tours are all going in right about now for end of summer, midsummer festivals.
Okay.
We got added maybe 5 or 6 weeks before that festival. A band had dropped, and our management was able to get us on the bill.
Nice.
Great slot, too. Headlining slot on a side stage, of all things. But
the side stages are where it's at those festivals, by the way.
Yes.
The main stage is cool, and you get to see the big acts. But a lot of times at those festivals, there are so many people. And
people just want to get away from it.
And with the bands, you might want to see this band, so like you might miss the first few songs on the main stage. The side stages, you can get up close.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's at, and you can really discover, which I'm sure has happened, like a lot of bands that you didn't know about just by going to those side stages.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
And it was a great setup. The side stage was in like the alleyway that you would go back to go to the tours for the entrance to the prison.
Okay.
So the setup of this place is wild, though. So the reformatory is like this off to the side, this massive, really awesome old structure. And the grounds are like this. 30,000 people just smashed into one giant square with 2 stages. Stage A, Stage B, and then the outlet down here to go to the side. That's where the third stage was. And when you walk in and see that, you're like, whoa. I've been to a bunch of festivals, but everybody in one spot. There wasn't any like, oh, let's go wander over, and other than the side stage. Yeah. But the big draw for every day, all 3 days, was here and then here,
Yeah.
and then here and then here.
Right.
So pretty much, man, if you were camped out and had your spot, you're getting this incredible show.
Yeah.
It's a little gives you a little anxiety, to be honest. I mean, there was a ton of people. It was crazy.
I love what you said about the memorabilia because you came over to my house for the first podcast that no one will ever hear, by the way.
Will ever, I haven't even heard it.
You don't want to. Somebody must have put something in my drink or something. I'm not sure what happened before that. But I have all these memorabilia of shows that I've been to, right? Or and it's signed and stuff. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And a few weeks later, a month later, I go to your house and it's like, oh, your band name is on that poster with I forget the names, but like obviously the Point Fest and the Incarceration and there's some big bands that your name shares a poster with.
It's crazy, man.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, we've been really blessed too. 105.7 The Point. We've always had the support of all the outlets around us have been great to us for so many years. We've played 9 Point Fests.
Wow.
And people go, what?
9 out of what, 27, 28?
Point Fests are? Yeah, go, how many are there, And I don't even know, but yeah,
I think there's
so some of that was through Pops. Pops has a local pop stage, but then we had the opportunity several times to jump on side stage from being asked or had we did the Pops thing and had the opportunity that we got to play that. So so it's pretty awesome. I got some of those massive posters hanging on the wall. Rob Zombie.
Drop some names.
Rob Zombie to Incubus to Offspring to POD to.
Who's your favorite band that you've played that you've shared a festival with?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
You're a huge Incubus fan, aren't you?
I am a huge Incubus fan.
Yeah.
Technically, they were on day 2, so we did not play the same day.
Your name's on the poster.
But name's on the poster, so that's still cool. Yeah, man, I don't even know. Incarceration wrapped up a lot of them, which is cool, but I didn't get to see really any of them because, we've got our thing going on. And like I said, I can't be in the middle of all that unless I'm going to stand there and not talk,
right?
Yeah. But we did get to catch quite a bit of it. God, that was everything. Papa Roach, Falling in Reverse, Korn, you name it.
Yeah.
They were at Spirit Box. I'm big into Spirit
Box.
Oh,
my gosh.
Right
Are they amazing or what?
Yeah. And it was...
Spirit Boxes. I saw them at a festival at Furnace Fest.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd heard them and I heard the album and I'm like, okay, they're cool. It's a girl lead singer, which is, it's not super rare in metal, but it's also always not super good. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
She shreds. Well, it's okay to say, right? Is that not okay to say?
There's a lot of dudes that are not that good either.
Sure, but it's got to be exponentially harder for a female lead singer to make it in metal, not just from like the music standpoint, but from like the touring and all the things. Fair or not, that's just what it is, right?
Every time when we see a band like that take off with a female lead singer, or even friends that we know that there's like a female in the band, it's always like, that poor thing.
Oh, I know.
Tour.
Yeah, that's got to be terrible.
You poor thing.
Spirit Box. Oh wow, they played the main stage of this Furnace Fest. I was like, I'm gonna go check them out, and that's the real deal, man.
Yeah,
and they are getting some big opportunities to open. They opened for Every Time I Die.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit.
I think they're on a really.
They opened for Limp Bizkit. That tour got canceled. Something happened, so like midway they got dropped out. Like the whole tour got canceled.
Yeah.
But
they're on another tour. I don't know if it's another big metal band that they're either co-headlining with or supporting. But
they are headlining this run and taking some heavy bands out with them.
It's like Parkway Drive or something.
Cool. I should know this. After the Burial.
Okay.
And somebody else, which is awesome. After the Burial is awesome.
Dude, but, if anyone listening to this likes metal, Spirit Box, Canadian band?
I don't know.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, sure.
It makes it, there's another element.
Sounds good, eh?
Sound cooler. That's how she screams.
Yeah,
there's
right.
an A after every.
That's right.
So from 20 years being a band, Incarceration, sharing the bill with these huge bands.
Yep.
You've got a local show coming up.
Yeah.
On January
13th. Brought to you by Local
Oh,
636.
How about that?
How about that?
It's funny how that works out.
Who put that on there?
It's funny how that works out. That's cool. No, part of it, honestly,
and mascots.
Of course, and mascots. We love mascots. I'm going to mascots for lunch tomorrow.
There you go.
Not to get on a soapbox here, but part of the reason that Local 636 came to be was promoting Emery, which is a national touring band, and through the podcast that I had at the time, and just wanting to do that more, just
Yeah.
wanting to be involved. I can't play music.
Yep.
I mean, I can't sing, but I want to be in it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And so when you asked me about that, I'm like, hell yeah, this is an awesome opportunity. So
Yeah.
talk about the show and what we're doing. And I mean,
it is the record release party for From Solitude. So a year ago, if I can believe that, it was over a year ago, we came out of the studio, did 5 songs in the studio. I touched on that a little bit earlier, that brought in a producer, flew in a producer that we had never met, but came reference from good friends in our network. And Matt Appleton, shout out to Matt, the best. Flew him in to work in a studio in Cape Girardeau with our good friend and producer Jack Daniels, Sick Tone Studio. Shout out Jack. And wanted to see, we knew we wanted to do a record, and we knew we wanted to take this marketing and promotion of this record as serious as possible, because we had just come back from California and we had this great experience, and we're all on this high of like, it lines up now again to be active, you know, when juggling everybody's lives and everything you got going on, there's a lot involved. So there's times when we were super active, and then there's times where it's like, we should probably put a song out, or you know, or can we go back into the studio, or you know what, you know. And I think everybody goes through that, especially if you've done it for anything over 10 years or even 5 years. You know, you're deciding how much time you can put into that. You know? So anyways, decided we wanted to do this record, and it was just such an incredible experience.
and it's produced your highest charting single. I mean, I just saw the Spotify stats, or I don't know what you want to call them, but it's twice as many streams as anything you've put out. Dead on Me.
First song for us to break 100,000 streams. Which,
incredible.
To break 100,000 legitimate streams, to know that somebody listened to that song over 100,000 times blows my mind. It's crazy.
It's cool. I'll be honest. My kids, you know, I listen to a lot of the same stuff you do, heavy. Yeah. And so, you know, the kids aren't really into it. I've got 2 small girls. But every once in a while there's a song, like A Day to Remember a lot, some other bands where they've just got those hooks, and they'll have them. They'll actually ask for the song. A lot of not Beartooth, but Silverstein has a song with the guy from Beartooth. That's super catchy. I think it's called Burn It Down. Yeah. They asked for that one. They started asking for Dead on Me.
Yeah, I love
because it's so catchy. It is so catchy, and you don't have to know. It's 3 easy words. Yep. It's a great melody. Yeah. And it works, man.
Yeah. That was
and you opened with it the last show.
Yeah.
Ballsy.
Yeah. Well, it was the new single at the time too.
Yeah.
You know, or it was the one that was like, well, it was making a difference, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, hey, that first 6 minutes, right?
Everyone's going to the bar after that anyway.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. So when we started deciding like, okay, we got to start putting riffs together, right? We're a band that writes riffs, and Nick writes the riffs, and then we start tossing around ideas and start formatting, you know, where's it going to go, kind of build a structure typically, and then everything else that kind of starts popping off. And he had that riff. The opening riff is also a hook in itself.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is.
And when we first heard that, I was like, oh, what is that? Is swanky. Like, what is that? I was like, that's different. It's like this bouncy kind of, and you just automatically, you know, your head just kind of starts going. And so we had that idea, and then we thought, well, what else do we got? You know, we're going in blind. We didn't have any songs written. We're going to sit down, and we're going to sit down with a producer that we've never met, who has done some of our favorite records, like Atreyu, Lead Sails, Paper Anchors.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, The Used. Their biggest record, and so on. Worked with Story of the Year. Avenged Sevenfold has done in Goldfinger and in Real Big Fish. Is a horn player in both of those bands.
I knew Matt Appleton sounded familiar.
Yeah. So we're bringing in a ska punk guy from the East Coast who has worked on all these West Coast records that we love, and some of our favorite records. And
there's a lot of Orange County, Atreyu,
very
and
much so. So he
was
in the John Feldman camp from Goldfinger, and John produced some of the biggest records for emo, screamo bands and all
Story of the Year.
Exactly. And so anyways, to have that connection in the first place was like, oh my God, what is this going to be like? And then you start to look into it, and you're like, well, he's done all these records, so I can't wait. I can't wait to find out, you know? So anyways, then it's like, oh man, we gotta, what are we going in with? We gotta be on it to, we gotta have riffs, we gotta have some concepts and ideas, and so anyways, he picks. We sent a batch of riffs and ideas, and he was like, okay, cool, well, that'd be a good starting point. We'll figure it out. And he gets to the first 3 or 4, and that one was not on the list.
Oh,
and it went so well that we wrapped these songs in record time, and energy is at an all-time high. And that was the last one that was like, we could knock out another one. What do we want to do? Nick's like, well, this was kind of the original idea, and so needless to say, to watch that song come together in the studio, I was talking about it earlier, but I think I was working on lyrics and working on something else, and had come back in, and Matt had laid down the idea for that hook, and was like, I got an idea. And I heard that and was like, what in the, I'm going to do that? Like, what? It was so like just out of left field for me. And it wasn't really, but it was so refreshing. It was like this really cool take. I heard that initial riff and I thought it was going to be the heaviest thing we had ever written. Mm-hmm. And clearly it's not.
It's not.
It's aggressive in like a punk rock aspect, kind of, rock and roll aspect.
It's radio friendly though.
Yeah. But then it just came together, and
it's
we
funny.
Instantly knew it was like, this is an opener, this is a closer, this song is what we want everybody to hear
anywhere
first,
but the middle of the set.
Sure,
I listen to a lot of podcasts about music and musicians and stuff like that, and it's funny how many times it's that last song, the song that wasn't going to make the record, the song that they go, we need another one. Let's throw something together in 15 minutes, and it's their biggest hit, or it leads off the record, or it's the hit single.
Yep.
And so it's so funny even to say on a smaller scale band that remains true.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was, you just don't know.
Yeah.
That's part of the mysterioso, right? Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then something like that happens.
Or what's going to stick.
Oh, my gosh, man. This is just something completely new and completely refreshing, and will definitely shape our approach, and has shaped the approach
how you do things in the future.
Going in, writing more stuff. So
let's pump this event. Let's talk about how we can get tickets and what's going on. You're doing a VIP thing as well.
Yeah, we're gonna do. Yes, we haven't announced the packages for that yet, but we've got some pre-bundle packages for pre-orders. You're going to get a physical CD. I know that's a big deal.
What do I do with that?
Yeah. Clearly you put a ribbon through the middle and hang it on your Christmas tree.
There you go. That's awesome.
So, next year, it's, shows in January. What can you do? So actually going to have some physical CDs this time.
Very cool.
Thought that is cool. We're doing some other cool little promo things that'll be in those bundles. But the full record, and since we've hung on to this as long as we have, we're still putting out singles. Mm-hmm. So we have the title track, From Solitude, will actually drop on the day of the show.
Oh, cool.
So as another single. And then we did 2 additional songs to add to the 5 songs that we had. So we did a reimagined version of the title track of our last EP, Enemy.
Okay.
And then we did a stripped version of our single Nothing New, which was
heard about these.
Yeah.
These are the strip. Okay.
Yeah. So we've added those. So, we know our core people, and we know that they're always into the inside of, they want, they want as much as we can give them on this stuff. And
more Joel.
We appreciate
more
that.
ID.
Yeah. More. It's not Joel. It's more Dan. More Dan.
Always comes back to the bass player.
More bass.
Where can we get to? This is at shows at Diamond Music Hall.
January 13th, Diamond Music Hall. Our homegirl, McKenna Mac on the mic from 100.7 The Viper. They have been excellent to us. She is the best. She's always promoting us, and then Local 636 and Mascots helping promote it. It's we're forever humbled and just grateful that we get to do it. Diamond Music Hall has been amazing to us, and we are as 636 as you can get.
Absolutely,
we're all from here. With the exception of one now, but
come on, you had to ruin it.
This is where it started. And the 3 original members are all from St. Peter's, actually. So,
and let's plug, we can see you every Thursday at Mascots.
Every Thursday at Mascots. Jen and Rob are the best. Please support them. And Presto Wine Bar now in Old Town St. Peter's. They're the best. I've known Rob for many, many years from this area, and he reached out to me kind of post-COVID after everything was done kind of being weird, that they were looking for somebody to host bingo, and it started as like extreme bar bingo, and has now turned into music bingo. And you've been up there.
It's super fun.
But it is a blast. If you're coming on a Thursday night, I host, and you got to make a reservation. It's packed all the time.
You do have to make a reservation. That's right. Yeah. You should.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people walk in and walk back out because they can't find a table. So,
yeah.
But it's a blast, and we've had a lot of fun with it. McKenna's actually doing it every other Friday up there now.
Oh, cool.
And that. So yeah, we've had a good time with it, and they're great people. So Rob was like, absolutely, can't wait to promote the show for you and all that. So yeah,
awesome, man.
But yeah, tickets online, all the socials, Inimical Drive. Find us anywhere. If you could spell that name, you'll
good luck. We'll put
go to local 636, and then
we'll put some links in that.
And we're going to be doing heavy promotion for that. I got a bunch of stuff that we're going to be rolling out over the next couple of weeks, so we'll be easy to find.
Dude, second time's a charm.
Second time's a charm.
Thanks
we'll have
for
to do a
joining me
third,
today, man. Yeah,
sure.
After the show, we'll do a rap or something.
Yeah.
Awesome,
for sure.
Man. Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate
you.
Bud.
Yeah, that was a miss.
Yeah. That's like a. There he goes. And there it is. Yeah.